What's up, everyone, and welcome down to another episode of Zetro's Toxic Vault. And as the Bay Area musicians keep coming in, we keep getting more and more and more legends. Today is no different. This man sitting across from me, although he was not part of the thrash metal genre that spewed so hard from the Bay Area, he led the power metal genre, and that was so strong. And I'm talking about the man sitting across me from VR Vicious Rumors, Mr. Geoff Thorpe.
Thank you, sir. Great to be here.
Good to have you here. You're a piece, because everybody looks at the Bay Area as like, oh, it was a thrash. Yeah, there was a lot of thrash bands, but we had, great power metal bands like yourself, Le Mans, Vane,
Sure.
Jet Boy. There was killer bands that weren't just thrash bands that all of us went and supported each other on anyway. Because I never considered VR a hair metal band. I considered you guys were the American equal to Priest, that kind of a thing.
Thank you, sir.
And that's what I mean. I listened. I was in the gym this morning and I listened to Digital Dictator from top to bottom because it's been a few years, and it's like, you forget how fucking great that record is now.
Thanks
they're
so
all
much,
very
man.
good. You know what I mean? And I know that's not even your first record, but to me, that lineup was just fucking lethal.
That's the lineup that's kind of started the whole thing for us.
But we're going to get into that because I want to talk to Geoff about some other things. And you've been a musician in the Bay Area for a long time. I mean, VR was started in '79, which tells me you were a long time musician and into the music. Because if you're starting a band that early and you're in our age group, then you were in your early teens when you started putting it together. Where did you start? Was your mom and dad in the 60s? Were they into it? Talk about that.
I was actually 4 years old, and I got a little bit late start. My parents were both in show business, and I'll tell you, when I was growing up, I was a kid in Hawaii. I grew up in Hawaii, born in Los Angeles, grew up in Hawaii.
Till what age, Geoff, were you in Hawaii till?
I was in Hawaii from about 6 years old to 17.
So that's a great molding. I mean, amazing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, those were my
period.
years listening. It was an incredible time to be in Hawaii. I mean, life was, it was the 70s. Life was good.
Sure.
And I was one of, out of all my musician friends back then, I think because both my parents were in show business, I was really the only one who had support from my parents. And that was something that I've always valued so much. They were always supportive of my music. When I was young growing up, all my other friends' parents were telling them, "You're wasting your time. Put that down." And
thinking outside the boxes, you can't do that. There's not going to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
This is never for you. Now, what did your parents do in show business?
My father, Ted Thorpe, was sort of a behind-the-scenes producer, casting director, and also took some small roles in acting. And then
Really?
my mother was a studio dancer for MGM. And
Really?
she was in movies where there's a romantic couple, and then on 50 dancers blow in out of nowhere.
Uh-huh.
Well, one of those was my mom.
Yeah, really? The old MGM musical?
Oh, man. She was in Oklahoma.
Amazing. Really?
No Business Like Show Business with Marilyn Monroe.
No way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she has her and my father met on some a movie set or something, and then the rest is history.
So then, of course, you definitely have the support of thinking outside the box. I mean, even I had a biker father who still was not keen on sure, you're going to be a rock star, pal. Sure, it's going to be able to pay your living. Sure, that kind of, assurance, I guess, but I guess you had it different then.
I was, like I said, I was the only kid that I knew in high school at that time that had the support from my parents. So I think that was a really, it was valuable in so many ways. And my sister is actually the one that got me into rock and music. Coming home from school, she was, 9 years older than me, and
I hear that a lot.
Her friends are sitting around listening to Led Zeppelin and Jethro Tull, and these bands, and I was just watching what was happening to them, as they're listening to the music, and not even really knowing exactly what it was, just knowing in my mind, I want to do that.
Yes,
So,
I do, because I was the same way at Dan the Green.
Okay,
when I
yeah.
saw AC/DC when they were with Bon Scott, 79.
Oh, incredible.
They did that. That was them.
I just missed that because I had
Mahogany
just
Rush,
moved here.
Aerosmith, and Ted Nugent.
Oh.
And at Bill, it was the Bill Graham, Dan the Green. And after I saw Bon, I was like, that is what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so that, and I do hear a lot that my older sister or my older brother got me into that, and it's like, it's always kind of cool that not always all the members here, do you sound?
Oh, thank you.
Work better. All the people, get it from their mom and dad, although a lot of people do. I listened to Led Zeppelin when I was 8 years old and was like, holy shit, what is this going on? So I really like the, that type of music, but it's always interesting to see, how somebody got into it. So was the guitar your first instrument?
Actually, my first love was being a drummer.
How come everybody wants to?
I don't know. Everybody starts off that way, I think. My drummer, though, he always wants to be the lead singer. So he gets tired of sitting in the back. I want to come up front,
I think that's most people, though. I heard Joe Elliott was a drummer before he was the singer for Def Leppard,
Wow.
So it's like, I guess that drummer just gets tired of sitting back there, I don't know. I never did. I've always been the front man. So I guess it does get lonely back there.
Smart man right there.
Definitely, just from the beginning. So so you played drums, and how old were you when you started beating on shit?
Well, the thing is that, the guitar is my first instrument that I actually started working on. I kind of daydreamed about being a drummer and a guitar player and kind of, air guitar with brooms and things like that,
Sure.
and all the things kids do when they're, fantasizing about playing music or being in a band. It instantly caught my eye and my heart. And, but when I finally started getting serious about, I was kind of a late bloomer. I started when I was just turned 15. So, but once I started, I was like one of the guys that, just would like sit in front of the oven with the door open and just like, just practicing and practicing. My parents saw like, that I was obviously super
Right.
serious
There's
about it.
determination in there, and
And when they see that, then they have something to support. You know what I mean?
well, and especially if they're coming from the arts, because a lot of parents, even though you're in your room practicing all day, some parents will be like, why don't you study? You're in there making that racket for 3-4 hours. They don't understand that, the craft that goes into it, the time to be good, to be good enough to be on this level that you're at, it takes a lot. People don't realize.
And it almost takes people in show business to understand that.
Totally. It does, or either, you're like, well, fuck this, I'm doing this anyway. So, which most of us, I remember through the scene is like, we all moved out, because I didn't want to hear it anymore. It's like, I'm going to go do this. So did you take lessons when you started playing guitar? Or?
I had, like I said, I had two older sisters that I lived with growing up, Tracy and Kathy, and I got so many of my influences from their friends and their music, and luckily they kind of let me be around a little bit. And I didn't really start off with formal lessons. I started off with a guy that was a really great guitar player, a friend of my sister's, and he just showed me like, okay, let's start with tuning a guitar. Like, let's just learn how to tune the guitar, and so that was probably the smartest thing you can start off with, right? And he basically just showed me how to sit down with albums and use my ear to kind of help find my way. He kind of showed me, like, here's some 6-string root chords, here's some 5th-string root chords, and listen to these albums, and so that's where I right from the beginning, and I'm very thankful for that start, that I was exposed to just using my, training my ear along with everything else, and just like, like it was the 70s, so it was, Aerosmith and Ted
Right.
Nugent, Led
Sure.
Zeppelin,
Rainbow,
all that
Black
good stuff.
Sabbath,
Early Priest,
early
Sabbath.
Priest, right?
And,
Scorpions.
And like I said, I started off from my sisters listening to Zeppelin and Jethro Tull and things like that. And then as I discovered like this slightly harder sound that was coming from like Sabbath and Priest and stuff like that, it really, it just really pulled me in. And like,
New wave of British heavy metal.
I would just do anything, anything for that sound.
Like new wave of British heavy metal sound, that type of stuff, or even earlier than that. I mean, what was your first band then? I guess when did you try to throw something together? Can you remember?
I can. I was in high school in Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
And I started a band called Berlin.
Really?
And this is
no way.
And this is before,
obviously,
before the
riding
band
on
in
the
LA.
metro.
So I was like thinking like, okay, I'm in Hawaii. I got this band called Berlin. So I was like kind of trying to establish this like international kind of thing, And then, man, right when I moved, as soon as I got out of high school in Hawaii, I was like, well, I'll tell you what happened. I was super serious about music, and I went to visit my sister in Los Angeles. This is in the last year. I was 17. I still lived in Hawaii, and I just asked her.
79, 80, around there?
Yeah, it was like 79. And I asked her, like, hey, can you just take me to see some bands? I don't care who. I just want to see some local bands. Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, whenever you can, let's just pick a night and go out. She was like, all right. So we pull out a newspaper.
Like go to the Whiskey, go to the Troubadour, stuff like that.
Exactly. And we picked the Starwood at the time, and the Whiskey A Go-Go,
of course.
And the first night we went out, we went to the Whiskey, the Starwood, and the Whiskey. We picked 3 nights we were going to go to, just total random. First night, the Runaways, Joan Jett and Lita Ford.
No way!
I've never seen girls kick ass like that.
You got to see the fucking Runaways.
I saw the Runaways. I was just like, I never seen girls kick ass like that.
I want to buy the shirt.
Just completely blown away. Then the next night, the next time we do it, I can't remember if it was the next night or next week, but we go to the Starwood to see a local band from LA called Quiet Riot.
With Randy Rhoads on guitar.
Randy Rhoads
of course
on guitar.
You
and
motherfucker.
so I'm in the crowd.
It's killing me right now, people.
I'm in the crowd and I'm watching this guy play guitar.
I know.
I basically felt like my life was changing at that moment. I mean, seriously, like this guy was just the fire that he was playing with, and just like the tone and just everything about the guy. And so far I'm kind of thinking like, oh my God, these first 2 nights in LA going to clubs have been pretty fantastic, So we got one more night to go out before I go back to Hawaii, and it's back.
Now, are you aware of Van Halen already?
No. None of these bands are famous yet.
Okay.
None of these bands are out yet. So we go back to the Whiskey, for the 3rd night, and another local band from LA, a little band called Van Halen. And it was like seeing the first album. Eddie had that striped shirt on, the chain guitar strap. I mean, David Lee Roth was just all, we just signed a $500,000 contract with Warner Bros. I mean, these bands weren't famous yet.
Right.
They weren't out yet. And again, I just like my life. I went back to Hawaii, Zed, just like, oh my God, I had to like kick everything into gear. Like it ignited my career. And then I also, the funny thing was I went back to Hawaii just thinking like anytime you go out in LA, you're going to see fucking Randy Rhoads or an Eddie Van Halen. I mean, I just got super lucky and saw these 3,
you were 3 for 3,
acts.
fucking straight up.
So it really changed my life, man. I went back to Hawaii and I started practicing and playing, and moved to California. Northern California. I actually moved to Santa Rosa, and I wanted to be close to the Bay Area.
Well, let me ask you something. What was the talent pool in Hawaii like? Because, I mean, again, probably not a lot of bands have come from Hawaii.
No.
None I can remember other than Hawaii, if they were, because I know Gary played with you, but were they actually from Hawaii?
No, Gary wasn't from Hawaii, but he... I
didn't know if Marty was, or you know what I mean.
I didn't know Gary and Marty till after I moved to California, and then I came back. I had heard of Marty, but I had never met him.
Interesting.
And so it was great to finally get to know those guys, and then of course Gary ended up on our first album. But
so why the Bay Area? Why did you want to come to the
I was narrowing it down. I was like Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco. I had it kind of narrowed down to these three things because basically I loved living in Hawaii. I never wanted to leave it. I went surfing in the daytime. I rocked at night.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was the 70s. Life was good. But this bug, this music thing got to me so deep that after that trip to LA and I got back and I really started honing in on things, the island just got like that big. I mean, seriously, it's just, I knew I had to leave if I was going to do this. So, and not that there wasn't talent in Hawaii, there is, of course, but it's just not,
You got to go where the cows are being milked at, you know what I mean?
That's it,
LA,
man. That's it.
And LA was so... That's what I mean. I a lot of the glam, the whole beginning part of the glam thing that went on was because people saw the Quiet Riots and the Van Halens and the earlier bands like that, and then they all flocked to LA. I mean, I remember meeting people from Indiana, Iowa, and they were picking up their band and moving to LA, so it was the thing to do.
And I almost did that too, but I chose the Bay Area because I had a little support in the Bay Area. I had some connections and some friends in the Bay Area and family friends. And so I thought, San Francisco is also a place that, throughout time, as you know, has been this extraordinary creative place.
Very much so.
That has blown up during whether it was the beatnik scene or acid rock or hard rock. And then, of course, little did I know, and when I moved here right at the right time to be part of this incredible American thrash and power movement that was coming out of the Bay Area. And like you said, Vicious Rumors really was not a thrash band.
But you were like
power heavy metal.
Yeah, you were not hair metal. You'd still play with us. You'd still play with each one of the the bands. To whereas we wouldn't play with Vane, we wouldn't play with Jet Boy, but we would play with Vicious Rumors and Lost Rocket would play together, like all the time.
Sure.
I mean, I remember going to those shows.
Sure.
And I love that. That was so much. Those were
and I think that maybe you would agree with this, that at the time, we just thought that this was a local music scene like any other scene in any other major city in Los Angeles, London, wherever.
Because you have no outlet. You haven't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
I say this all the time. I was thinking, wow, I wonder if every other city in America has 13 bands deep that are great and they have this little scene. And to find out after we've become these entities and found out over the years, man, it was a special fucking place.
Oh,
you know
man.
what I mean? It was a special fucking... There wasn't a place in the world that spawned so many memorables.
Oh, that are still going
that
today.
Still kill it, exactly.
So
still kill it.
It's incredible. Like, I mean, I never really thought like the whole world was going to be looking to this scene.
And they still look.
That's
why, I mean, believe me, on this show, I'll get tons of comments on this alone, thanking me for having you on, because there's some fan in England somewhere that Vicious Rumors is their favorite band, and and they want to know about things like this, because it's that deep.
Yeah,
it is that deep.
It is,
and people love the stories and the history that the Bay Area metal scene has created. You know what I mean? And everybody has their own little piece of their pie, of their piece that they had. They contributed to it. You and your guys are no different.
Well, I think I can speak for every member of Vicious Rumors that's been in the band at one point or another when I say that it's an honor, really, and a deep privilege to be part of something so special.
See, I seem the same thing. I don't take it for granted either, even though I've been two of the bigger bands. I've been in both of them. I'm like, wow, how lucky was I? I got to play in Legacy and Exodus. What I mean?
Well,
how lucky is that? It's like, obviously it's timing. You're at the right place at the right time. A little bit of talent, maybe a little bit, but I mean, it's just, it was something that was. It was in the air. You'd remember going to Ruthie's on a Friday or Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. Man.
All of us are there, and everybody's just, what's up, brother? What's up? And it's on. It was just like family friendly Thanksgiving party that went on every week.
We played with Exodus and Metallica at Ruthie's.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Metal Mondays too.
Oh yeah, Metal
That's
Mondays.
another thing I wanted to talk about, which you formed. Did you never had another band before VVR, did you?
No, because my Berlin thing never really got off the ground once the LA band
So
came
from
out.
Berlin, we went straight to VR.
Yeah, straight to VR.
And talk about the name. Where did the name come from?
Man, I was hanging out with some longtime friends of mine, and we were sitting around enjoying some of the California farm and lovely persuasion that we were enjoying.
Oh, it just reminds me, Geoff. No, keep talking while I take a hit. No, really.
And they had a friend coming over, and I had no idea. And all of a sudden, like this uniformed police officer walks in, and it's like early on here, man. This is like 1980 or something, or 79 or something.
Everything was still. Don't move.
Yeah. And this uniform, I'm like, just letting out a huge hit. I think like the cop walks in, I'm like trying to suck it back in, just see if I can get it back in. Anyway, he was totally cool, and then my friends just thought it'd be a funny gag to pull. Thanks, fellas. That was really nice of you.
So it wasn't a real cop?
It was a real cop, and we sat around, and he didn't smoke with us, but he was totally cool. And we sat around talking about music and life, and somehow in the conversation, the Vicious Rumors came up, and I just thought, that's like a perfect name for the music business. It's something heavy, but it's a little mysterious, and so I just thought something slightly unusual for a metal band. And so it was just a crazy conversation, and that's how it happened, man.
So did you have the name before you had the band? We're putting it together, so it was one of those things like, I got this name. I'm calling my band Vicious Rumors, and I don't know what I'm getting, but I'm putting a band together. Is that kind of how it went?
That's exactly how it went.
I love that.
And what I did was when I got the name together, and I made 1,000 business cards, and I just started going to the Mabuhay Gardens, the Stone, the On Broadways, the Cactus Clubs, the
Keystones, Omni, fucking Ruthie's, anywhere you can go.
And this is even before Omni. I mean,
because Omni didn't open until like 89, 90, something like that.
So I was just going to any rock show, any concert hall, big venues, big concerts, anything, and I passed out these cards. And man, sure enough, like 6 months later, I still didn't have a band together, but I went out, and people were like, "That's that guy from Vicious Rumors." You know what I mean? So it's like I kind of built something up. And
you were the Vicious Rumors guy and didn't even have a band yet.
I did not have a band together. No.
So when people would go like, "So what is this, Geoff?" It's like, "What's my band?" I haven't put it together yet, but I'm on it. I mean, was there?
I usually leave that part out. I just, kind of.
And is that how you got your members too?
I was just so sure that I was going to be able to put it together, and yeah, that is how I got the guys. That's how I got people into it. And back in the day, I had met this lady who had a theatrical coffin. It was one of those old English coffins, like the guitar case coffin, and she had it for a play, and she was getting rid of it, and I'm like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, I just want someone to take it out here. And I'm like, I'll take that. And I had another buddy who had a hearse. So we did this thing where we used to have these like candelabras on stage, and our road crew guys would wear these monk outfits. My. And like, man, I was one of the first guys back in like 79, early 80. I met John Nady early on in his career, and I was one of the first guys in nightclubs back then to have a wireless guitar.
Really?
So like we did this thing at the old Waldorf when we first came out, where I would be in this coffin, and our roadies would put like stockings over their heads like burglars and leather jackets, and like carry in the coffin, and I'd be in there like kicking the lid up and down with my knee, and just going on the whammy bar, making all these crazy sounds and shit. And they would like bring me in during this. We'd have this like funeral procession to open the show. I don't know if you ever remember seeing us do that.
I don't remember that.
But yeah, this is like way before King Diamond got burned.
This is old Waldorf days, right?
Yeah, this is like old Waldorf.
Metal Monday shit.
Metal Mondays, brother. But yeah, so I was always into theater. I always loved bands like Alice Cooper and Kiss.
So do I. So do I.
With all my heavy metal, with my serious metal, I loved the theater and those kind of bands. So I was always attracted to do something like that. And it was funny. I remember we had a party in Santa Rosa years ago when I first got the Coffin, and a bunch of kegers and people, and obviously it just got out of control, and the police show up, and the first thing they do is they come in the backyard with their flashlight
and see a coffin.
Yeah, and they see a coffin, and all right,
they're doing Satan ritual shit here, huh?
Guns are coming out.
I bet.
But I love it, man. I love the action.
So do I. I mean, I love Slipknot. I love to go watch that whole thing.
Me too.
It's so fun. It's like a 3-ring circus going on stage the whole fucking time. You know what I mean?
They're so good live.
I went to the Shoreline a couple of months ago and saw them, and they were really great. And I just, we've met, got to, know each other over the years, and they're, good big Exodus fans.
Oh, I bet.
Obviously we're the old men on the block. But I mean, like you said, the theatrical stuff, I love that whole, mysticism idea. I love the whole Alice, when Alice is Alice, Gene is the demon. I just have always kind of loved, if you could pull it off, if you could fucking pull it off,
exactly,
it's great. You know what I mean? I could always, go with that. King does it great. Now, we did a whole United States tour with him just a few years ago.
I was there. I saw it. And saw you guys at the Warfield.
Yeah, at the Warfield. And his whole set is just
incredible.
The church, and he's got, grandma comes out, and it's all, welcome to my, it's just the whole evil, and everything is just
great show.
It really carries the music so much more so. But then again, there's bands like us, there's really no frills. Just go out there, bang your head, man, explain we're going to kick you in the face. Might get a couple of screams in a backdrop that says Exodus, and ram, here we go.
That's awesome too.
So that's kind of how we look at it. So now, when you finally put the band together, when you finally got VR together, I know it wasn't the lineup that you in fact, you almost changed pretty much everybody, except I think Larry came in pretty much around that time, right?
Larry and Dave Snore,
Dave, that's right, because Dave was in Las Rocket
right
for a while, you know what I mean? And then he was kind of booted, and Willie came in, and and then he went and I think he did Black Leather for a minute, didn't he? Or was it before that?
Yeah.
And then you guys did that. What was do you remember the first gig? It wasn't Metal Monday, was it? Do you remember the first VR show?
Oh man. Do I remember the first VR show?
The Alameda Book Club upstairs, you know what I mean? I don't think he remembers, people. That's okay. Yeah. Back that far. Okay, let me ask you this question. You might remember. Do you remember the first time you played Metal Monday?
I do. I do, because we were super excited and super stoked. We did a dinner show with Y&T.
How great. Thank you, Queenie Taylor, and thank you, Tony Isabella.
Absolutely.
For making that, because I swear to God, that had a lot to do with incorporating the heavy metal scene in the Bay Area. What it was Metal Monday was a huge part of that.
Oh.
Metallica never would have come up and played had it not been for Metal Monday,
Motley Crue.
Oh my God, but Quiet Riot, Wasp, everybody came up and did Metal Monday, man.
Sure.
It was packed. It was the thing to do.
And the great thing about Metal Monday is the other venues in the Bay Area were fun, and it was a great gig. But when you played the old Waldorf, at that time, that was the premier place to play.
Yeah, it was prestigious.
You had a nice dressing room. You got fed. You got treated well.
Even though it was a Monday, and the way that's kind of how they looked at it, it's like Metal Monday, the least popular night of the week probably. But hey, it's a Metal Monday. But you know what? That fucking thing turned into something.
Oh, it was incredible.
They had it going on.
Absolutely incredible. And for us, it was funny doing those dinner shows. I remember, the first show, everybody's sitting down eating dinner, and we come out, and we got marshals, and I'm sweating all over the place. And I'm fucking banging my head. Yeah, a guy's got some linguine hanging off his fork.
I love that.
He's looking at me like, "Hey man, I'm trying to eat here."
I know that is just awesome.
And then then we pack down. Y&T does a set, And then everybody leaves, and we set up again for the second show.
Right. Yeah, because it's two shows a night, right?
It was 2 shows a night at
now
the dinner show.
Now the second show wasn't dinner show though, was it? It was just like
just
that was
the
the
first
more
one.
rockin' show.
Absolutely,
because Homeboy's not eating linguine while you're trying to fucking let him have it. You know?
Oh, I was like stepping on the table, kicking salt and pepper shakers over.
That's awesome.
I loved it though. But yeah, it was. Those were good times, man. And the old Waldorf was definitely like that was. The super special Bill Graham nightclub. It's funny. I had one funny run-in with Bill Graham. I was at a Van Halen concert years ago, and I can't even remember what year it was, but I was with a bunch of people started to rush the stage, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go with them. So I just jumped in and like rushed the stage, and Bill Graham was like such a powerful figure. Like he actually like stepped in front of this massive mob of people running down, and was just like, what? Just like put his hand out, and like everybody stopped in their tracks. It was
really?
I was like, how could this one guy like stop this herd of metal maniacs?
He was powerful.
Running down.
We were on Bill Graham management, so I actually got to know him really well.
Oh, wow.
Before he passed, because I joined the band in '86, and Tony was our manager, but we were on Bill Graham management, so I got to know Bill really well, and he was really a good. I actually have pictures of him holding Cody, my son, from Hatriot as a baby, and stuff.
Wow.
We got to him. What a great, like you said, when he walked into the room, the presence was just like everybody knew. He was.
Wow,
he was what a great. That's why he's so revered.
Yes.
in this area. Now, you hooked up with Mike Varney. Talk about how you got hooked up with Mike, and I know that Shrapnel they had a lot to do with Bay Area metal as well. More guitar virtuosos. I mean, I would have to say that he had probably something to do with making Yngwie who Yngwie was with the Steeler record and that sort. Talk about your relationship with Mike and how that started.
Absolutely, Mike. I first met Mike Varney when I went. He was in a rock opera. I don't know if you remember this or not. Rock Justice.
Vaguely.
I haven't even thought of that in so
Vaguely.
long. But Rock Justice was a play. There was a rock play with Leonard Hayes was on drums.
Really?
And he was the judge. And it was like a courtroom scene about a songwriter who was being tried for not creating more music or not having another hit or something like that. And Mike Varney was the prosecuting guitarist. And Leonard Hayes was the judge on drums. And anyway, it was this kind of campy.
Was it Wyan Tier? Was just Leonard and
Leonard and oh God, what was their bass players?
Phil,
of course. Leonard and Phil
Canmore
were both in it. They were both in it. Mike Varney was in it, and God, there was a couple other really good musicians. Jeff Pilson was in it.
Oh, really?
Dokken and whatnot. And they were in a band together called Cinema way back then.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Jeff Pilson, Mike Varney, and so this Rock Justice thing was it was this really cool kind of like rock show.
Now, where did they do that at? Like at the Warfield, would you go and see it? Or was it in a club? Or was it more like in a theater where they would do a theatrical? Like you would go see a play or something?
I believe they did it at like nightclubs, like places where you saw bands. So it was kind of like just going to see a band. Where I saw it was actually they did a thing at City Hall in San Francisco outdoors.
Really?
It was like a free concert outdoors, and Rock Justice, and that's where I saw it. But so meeting Mike Varney and establishing this whole guitar-oriented sound that we were pushing for, which was kind of, definitely Vicious Rumors kind of always features heavy guitar
yeah,
stuff.
definitely. That's the edge.
And Mike started. I didn't have a second guitar player at that time when I really started getting to know Mike, but he knew about Vicious Rumors. He wanted to do a deal with us, and Shrapnel was sort of early on at that point.
Who did he have at that time?
He had Exciter.
He did have Exciter at that
time.
Did he have like Vinnie Moore or Greg Howe yet? Had he signed any of those?
No, because Vinnie Moore did his debut on our first album. Vinnie Moore was on
that's
Soldiers
right.
of the Night.
Yes.
What happened was Mike had played me a sample of 3 guitar players that were sort of available, and one of them was Vinnie Moore. One of them was oh God, who was the guy that played with Ozzy for years but didn't do a record? Joe Holmes.
Really?
Joe Holmes, you know him, or
No,
you know of him?
I didn't know that.
Okay, well, Joe Holmes also, he played in Ozzy for years, but he didn't make a record, but he toured with Ozzy. But so it was his tape, it was Vinnie Moore's, and there was another guy who I can't remember. But all 3 of them were out of this world guitar playing. I mean, any one of these guys would have been incredible.
And what year are we in right now?
Right now we're in like 84.
About 84.
Yeah.
So you had been playing. Now because it's 79, we're gonna chew up 4 years. You've been playing the club circuit when that in that amount of time.
I had been playing the club circuit, and Mike Varney had already done. He had these compilation albums called U.S. Metal.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
and so we were on U.S. Metal 3 and U.S. Metal 4 in 83 and 84. So we'd already worked with Mike. He already knew about the band. It was already, and now we were talking about doing full-length LP together. So when he started showing me these other guitar players who were available, we thought Vinnie Moore was the one that really stood out to us the most. Which is funny because I just hung out with Vinnie Moore at UFO at the Great American Music Hall.
Really?
Yeah, with Armin Saint the other night.
Yeah, we left that night to the Bahrain thing.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I was going to go to that. We left that night for that. I wanted to go see it.
Yeah. So it was great hanging out with Vinnie Moore and reminiscing and stuff. And
now the UFO's final tour, right?
And UFO's, yeah. Now Vinny's been in UFO longer than any other guitar
I would
player.
think so, right?
Like 17 years or something. So anyway, but so we liked Vinny. We put the Soldiers of the Night album together. We did a 2-album record deal with Mike Varney at that time for Soldiers, and it was Soldiers of the Night and our Digital Dictator album.
No, you changed, but okay, so album comes, Soldiers of the Night comes out in 85 or 86, right? No, 85, right?
I believe so, yeah.
85, and complete different lineup. Like you had Gary St. Pierre on vocals on there, and you had McGee wasn't in the band yet, was he?
No,
but
no.
Dave Starr was.
It was,
and
Dave and Larry.
Larry were. So the 3 of you, basically, pretty much the nucleus at that point, were on that record. How much touring did you guys do for that, Geoff?
Really, we didn't really start touring yet. We did like weekends and one-offs.
And see, that was the thing back then. If you signed, because we were on Combat, and a lot of the independent labels didn't have the money to help the bands out and tour, even though you had a record out. You know what I mean? Even our first 2 records, we didn't tour as much as like we do now. You know what I mean?
God.
It's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
Now, I can't believe if we would have done this, what we did now back then, we probably would have been 10 times bigger because there's so many markets we didn't go to.
Sure.
And we're starving for it. So it was tough at that time. Okay, so then obviously in 87 Digital Dictator comes out, you have Carl Albert singing for you, which is like a Bay Area icon for all of us. We love Carl.
Man.
What a powerful fucking voice. Such a tragedy when it came down to that. But to me, this album, this band, you got Mark's in the band now.
Yeah.
This thing is firing on all fucking cylinders. Like I said, I would listen to Digital Dictator today in the gym, and fuck, man, it holds the test of time, brother.
Right on.
It holds the test of time. Just to hear you guys
means a lot from you, brother.
The riffing in it, the guitar work, the vocal range that Carl had, and just the dynamics, the structures, the songwriting. It's really hills and valleys. You can tell that these are just kids who knew their craft. And think about it, you were kids. We were kids when we were doing this. Now I look at somebody who's that age going, you don't even know what you're doing. And look what we were doing back then at that age. So talk about that record, and that record changing the face of Vicious Rumors, because I believe that really is when it really flipped a switch, when people were like, Vicious Rumors, and whoa, have you seen this now? You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think the addition with Carl and Mark, and it really,
there's no doubt,
level, and the album was so strong. What happened then? Where did we go then? Did we tour? I know Atlantic offered you a deal, but tell us how that happened.
Well, that was sort of, that was really, it took, like you said, it really took the second album for things to really start happening. And when Carl Albert and Mark McGee came into the band, we really really established our sound. And like, I don't know, we just, everything in about a band is built around chemistry.
Sure.
And if you have that special chemistry together, like, it's the same thing with you being in Exodus again, man. You know what I mean? It's like there's a chemistry with you
Right.
and the band that is undeniable.
Right.
And we experienced that
And the
on that
players
second
don't,
album.
and so do the fans. You know what I mean? They get it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying there wasn't a chemistry with Rob, but there's something that's built on. That you built on something. And it works.
Absolutely.
It works.
Absolutely. And we had that going on with, Mark and I had very different styles, but at the same time, we just worked together really well and kind of complemented each other. And of course, Carl Albert, I mean, I was, honored to share the stage with that guy for 10 years. And, it was just so hard to lose him because that sound, that voice.
Sure.
And also, we were a band that we had ups and downs. So we were a close band. I mean, we were friends, So like losing Carl also was like devastating on so many levels. But Digital Dictator, the good things about Digital Dictator is that we established a sound. We started touring. And that's when we first started going to Europe, and really around the world, people really embraced that Digital Dictator album. And the funny thing is, we just did a whole Digital Dictator tour that turned into like 60 shows. It was unbelievable.
Playing the album in its entirety.
Playing the whole album 30 years later. And if you would have told me back then that we were going to tour 60 shows and doing the Digital Dictator album 30 years from now, I would have had to scratch my head and say we'll have to see about that.
I think we all think about that like that. I know I do. When I'm looking back at like 88 and 89 going, see, I was 24 and 25 then. I'm thinking, would I be doing this? I'll be dead by the time I'm 45, let alone 55 fucking doing it. And I'm still doing it. And they're still there to hear it in droves. I mean,
incredible.
And like I said, I mean, you guys, we see what you do over in Europe. You do so well over there. Isn't it funny how we do okay in the States? So we love the States. It's great. It's good for us. But it's so much different over there, for us. I know it is for you guys as well. It's just, they really live for it. They really thrive on it. You know what I mean? Not to say anything bad about the American crowds. I love playing in America. I love playing in the United States, but man, Europe is really, they've welcomed us quite well, man. South America too.
Yeah, you get to South America and it gets really nutty too.
We were just there. So we love them and they love us. And there's nothing wrong with that, But,
absolutely.
But
the heavy metal, the world of heavy metal,
yes,
is a small, but
I call it fraternity.
Unified fraternity, yes.
Fraternity. I call it a fraternity. We all know each other. It's kind of like
incredible,
the fans.
man.
Yeah, it's like the fans are part of the fraternity because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a house to party in without them. You know what I mean? So it works hand in hand. Pop music is so disposable. You know what I mean? It's like in 5 years, nobody's going to listen to a Katy Perry song from 5 years ago, you understand, but you're still listening to pre-song albums from the 70s. You're still listening to Rock-a-Rolla, Sad Wings of Destiny, you know what I mean? They don't know, and that's the case for metal, so that's what we always have that. We'll always have that.
And it's so incredible. Like when I think that we're part of something that people hold so
exactly.
that people cherish.
And that's why I don't take it for granted.
And so heavy metal rules and heavy metal lives, my friends.
We'll do it forever. We'll do it forever. So now, for a good 10 years, it was pretty much you, Mark, Larry, Dave, and Carl, right, till 2000 or till 95, right? It was 90.
Yes, 90, 95. That's
95,
right. Yeah.
Right, 95.
Yeah.
95. And talk about that. I mean, people are interested in that, and they want to know what was going through the band's mind at that time.
After the Digital Dictator album, we got signed to Atlantic Records.
Right.
And so I just want to go briefly cover that.
No, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. Let's take a timeline.
It was a super exciting time for us because, Atlantic Records.
But was it a plus or a minus, Geoff? Tell me if it was a real plus, because we signed to Capitol Records, and if you were to ask me right now, that was not we fucked up by doing that. You know what I mean? That they didn't know how to carry a band like us. So what was your take on it? Atlantic? Had more harder bands, it seemed like, and more of a rock thing, but for us it was as soon as it was like almost a death warrant when we signed to
to me, I felt like, the funny thing is, like, when you're trying your whole life to make music your goal and make this your life, and you get the opportunity to sign with someone like Capitol or Atlantic.
Well, that's why we did.
You just do it because you kick yourself in the ass forever if you don't do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you gotta give it a try.
I mean, we go Beatles, Frank Sinatra. How many people have been on Capitol? You can go through Bob Seger, all the major people on Capitol Records.
Same here. I'm like Led Zeppelin, AC/DC,
exactly,
Aretha Franklin.
Exactly. You're thinking, well, I'm going to that label and look what they did for them. So,
sure.
So I can this happen for me too? So is that how did they do for you guys?
Well, it was interesting because we basically got kind of the spaghetti treatment where, they sign a bunch of bands, throw them up against the wall and see which one takes the longest to slide down, Right. So when
spaghetti treatment.
when we did our first album on Atlantic, was a real changing of the guard. It came out in 1990. So Nirvana was happening. The grunge thing was coming in.
I remember that.
And everything was changing, man. So when I was thinking that we weren't going to make it to a second album, but we did 3 albums for Atlantic. So in that regard, I was very surprised, and
we only survived 2 on Capitol. Got
whacked
after 2.
Yeah. So I mean, we did 2 studio albums and a live album.
Oh yeah.
And so basically the same thing. But it was a changing of the guard. Atlantic started signing bands like Hootie and the Blowfish, and so that was a done deal at that point. It was back to independent albums, and that's okay. I mean,
sure it is, but it's kind of like when you thought you had got your PhD and your doctrine, and you had to go back to school for a couple more years and didn't quite pass the bar.
I had to give back the Rolls Royce and the mansion.
Exactly.
But,
had to sell the mansion. And the pool was full of algae. You know what I mean? Couldn't afford the pool. Yeah, exactly. Happened to us all. Yeah, right. That was just part of it. Unfortunately, it killed us. After that was Force of Habit was the last Texas record until we reformed again for Tempo of the Damned, which was for another 9 years.
Okay.
But it did kill a lot of bands. It killed us. So, but you guys kept going. Now you did take a short hiatus after, how many records? You did 3 for Atlantic.
We did 3 for Atlantic, so that was 5 albums at that point, and with the 2 for Shrapnel, and then 3 for Atlantic, and then, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I mean, it hurts a little bit, when you get dropped or something like that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, don't take it personal. It's like, how the fuck else can I not?
Yeah.
They kept telling me, Zet, don't take it personal. I remember I was on tour with Black Sabbath, and we were in Oakland, and I had heard that we were getting dropped, and I seen Carmine Appice backstage, and he was just hanging out because his brother was playing with Black Sabbath, Vinny, and I was like, kind of bummed. He goes, "What's the matter, man?" I go, "I think we're getting dropped from Capitol." He goes, "Don't worry about that. I've been dropped like 5 times." I was like, and I thought I was like, but I've never been dropped. Wait a minute. I don't like this feeling that I'm getting right now.
That would have made me feel a little better.
But the whole thing is like, but the whole thing I do is like, now you're dirty laundry. If somebody got rid of you, there's a reason why they got rid of you, and other people are like, "Ooh, I don't know if I want to touch your dirty laundry." You know what I mean? So
there's a lot of ways to look at it.
We Exodus stopped after we lost the deal with Force of Habit. That was the last record from the initial period that we went on. But you guys, you continued even after Carl had passed. You sang for a while, right?
Yeah, I mean, Vicious Rumors has never broken up
Right.
Since 1979.
Yeah, that's amazing. 40 years now, people. 40 fucking years now.
Yeah.
We have a 40. I mean, Exodus is 1979. Tom and Kirk put it together in 79, but we've done the shuffle off the buffalo a couple of times.
Yeah.
This is my third stint. I'm a 3-time loser, baby. So it's like you've been. You're like Gary Holt. You've been in the whole time. You haven't not left. You've been in the whole fucking time.
I've always had a reason to continue. I've always had something to look forward to, or something I wanted to do.
That's a good attitude, Jeff.
Or something.
Yeah, hear that attitude, people? That's what you need to do.
I mean, I'm one of the luckiest people in the world, brother.
I say the same thing.
Because a lot of times people will say to me, like, "Oh, Jeff, don't you feel like things could have been this or that or that?" I'm like, listen, I have been following my heavy metal dream my whole life, 40 years now.
Think about it.
I'm still going strong. I'm about to make another album.
Sometimes your dressing room is right next to your hero's dressing room, and they just played the stage, and you're about ready to go on, or you're about ready to go on, and vice versa. That's what I get out of it.
Oh,
I've got
man.
to play with Iron Maiden. I've got to play with Judas Priest on the same fucking stage. I've got to play with I know Motorhead. I mean, Motorhead knows. He used to come in, let me come in and say, "Hey guys," Exodus played with Motorhead so many times. It's like that's what it is to me. I get to be, you know what I mean? I'm the biggest fan still, so that's why it's so fucking cool,
And that's why it's good for you and I, brother, because we're fans of the music
and I'm
still.
still a fan.
Me too,
still
man.
A fan. And I still see new bands that I like. I mean, we did a tour a couple of years ago, and then everybody knows Power Trip from Texas. They're new kids coming up, that kick ass. Look at my kids, the Atria Boys.
Oh, they're incredible.
Great fucking
Patriots,
band. Not even to
amazing.
pump them because they're my kids, so I'm going to pump them on my show. Their fucking album, they fucking shred, you know what I mean?
They're incredible. Hatred is amazing.
They do a great job. So it's like I keep my ear to the grindstone. I know what's new. I know what's good. I'm still a fan, I was listening to Aerosmith Rocks the other day,
Yeah.
Fucking amazing record.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like I'm going to go and like, well, I'm kind of older now, so I'm going to listen to some contemporary. I don't want to know. You know what I mean? That's like, I listen to the heavy shit. This is what drives me, man.
Absolutely, man.
So talk about you having to come in and be the singer. Talk about how that went down.
Okay. So,
we were all very shocked.
Yeah.
But tell the story.
So after we got signed to Atlantic, the touring really picked up, and the band was on tour in America for months, on tour in Europe for months, Japan, South America, the whole thing. And like you said, playing with our childhood heroes, playing with Scorpions,
Right.
Deep Purple, Dio,
Sure.
Judas Priest, Black Sabbath. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So we really established ourselves as a touring band, and things were going great. Of course, the changing of the guard at Atlantic brought us to going back to the underground. Then tragically, we lost Carl. And that was, probably the closest. It's definitely the closest we ever came to like saying, okay, maybe we're completely done now. And probably most common sense would do that. But the problem with that is Larry and I and the guys were still alive. We're still here. We still want to play. And I don't think that your fallen brother wants you to just tank the whole project because you lose him, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of different ways you can look at that, but when you're a lifer,